Guys, it's Jen. This is a Jen is Zen episode of Reframing Me. In these short bits, I give you something to meditate on or journal about. Today, I'd like you to think about this. Sometimes the discomfort of staying the same has to be greater than the discomfort of change. First, I would like to say that I realize it was only a few short weeks ago that I told you to focus on being, not doing. Well, I haven't been doing that. I mean, I know I should be it's completely the best advice, but I've been too busy doing to remember the thing about being. So, literally exactly the opposite of what I told us to do then. I still stand behind it and I still need to do it. And I know before I say it, you're already like, don't lead with the buts, Jen. Those are just excuses. And I know that. But I also think it's an explanation. It's mid-October of a huge election season, and I have spent months working on my Reframing the Conversation project, and the election is now in less than 3 weeks. So now is the time that I have to get it out there so that it can actually do what it's intended to do. So I've really been working on that. I hope that y'all had the chance to listen to that series. If you haven't yet, it's a 6-part series that looks at political communication and family communication, and our conversation centers around essentially how complicated that communication around politics can get in families, and especially when people disagree, and how this incivility stems from the overall uncivil tone in society right now around politics, and why this has happened, and how you can communicate more effectively, and how you can repair relationships that may have been damaged. So much content, but so important to discuss. And y'all, I am not the only one who thinks so. Okay, so the very first person who I sent the release to had me doing an interview for the news pretty much immediately. And then I sent my press release out. And it had 442 pickups, including Yahoo picked up my story and the AP. Y'all, the Associated Press, The Wire ran my press release. I have no idea still at this point where this is all going, but I am doing it. I'm just following my instincts and I am doing. I know that if I start thinking too much, it's just not going to happen. I kind of feel like that's been the overall tone since I started this podcast 2 years ago. That's kind of what I've been doing career-wise. I didn't know where I was headed, and I still don't, but I knew that the discomfort of staying the same was worse than the discomfort of change. I think so often that's what we need, because we've all been there, haven't we? In moments where the familiar, it feels safe, even if it's uncomfortable or unfulfilling. So we tell ourselves it's easier to just stay put, to avoid the risk of change, because change brings uncertainty. But what happens when staying the same begins to weigh on us more than that fear of the unknown? When we realize that remaining in place in its own way is actually causing us pain. Maybe you're feeling that way about your career. I mean, for so many of us, it's been 20 or 30 or maybe more years now in the same career. And while it's familiar, often it just doesn't ignite the passion that it once did. You've thought about maybe pursuing something new, or maybe you've even thought about going back to school or starting that side business you've dreamed about. But change is scary. Change feels so daunting. What if it doesn't work out? What if it fails? What if I fail? Yet there's that gnawing feeling, that dissatisfaction that maybe grows every time you sit down at your desk, or every time you attend another meeting that feels pointless. The discomfort of staying in a role that no longer serves you is quietly building. While that idea of change that was once so scary, it starts to seem like it's the only way forward. Maybe you realize that risking something new, while it's totally intimidating, but risking something new, it still feels lighter than the heavy burden of staying in a career that no longer excites you. Or maybe it's something with your health. The discomfort of changing your lifestyle, whether it's your diet or fitness, or maybe having a treatment or a procedure, but the change is uncomfortable. So we don't do it until the discomfort of staying the same, it gets worse. And we realize that it's time to just do, to sign up for the run or the class or start the diet or go see the doctor because something just has to change. Staying the same feels safe. But when you feel your body telling you it's no longer enough, that discomfort, it grows louder. And eventually the discomfort of staying stuck, it starts to outweigh the discomfort of stepping into that yoga class you've been wondering about, or trying the strength training that has intimidated you, the knee replacement that you've been putting off. The moment you make that shift, you realize that change, it is hard, but it's also what your body has been begging for. For many of us, life is filled with the responsibilities of motherhood and caregiving and managing a home and a career and a marriage and our health. And all of this leaves very little room for just our own joy and our own creativity. Maybe you used to love painting or dancing or writing, but somewhere along the way, somewhere those passions, they faded into the background. Maybe you've thought about picking them up again, but there's always something else, something more important to do. But now our kids are getting more independent, right? And maybe you're finding moments of quietness. There's a restlessness inside of you. The discomfort of not pursuing those creative outlets, those moments of joy, those moments of expression, maybe they've begun to outweigh the initial discomfort of carving out that time for yourself. Change here isn't just about trying something new. It's about rediscovering the parts of you that you've set aside for others. The moment that you make space for that new hobby or for that forgotten passion, but that's the moment that you begin to breathe life into that part of you that's just kind of been sitting quietly waiting for its turn. In each of these areas, whether it's in health or in fitness or your career or your relationships or hobbies or whatever the area, the discomfort of staying in place, it eventually becomes undeniable. And when it does, it's no longer the fear of change that holds us back, but the recognition that we are meant to evolve. We are not meant to stay stuck in the same routines or the same roles or the same patterns forever. Change is not always easy. In fact, it's often quite uncomfortable. It's filled with uncertainty and filled with moments of self-doubt. But there's also a deep and profound truth in knowing that the discomfort of growth is often the very thing that we need to experience to reach new levels of happiness, to reach new levels of fulfillment, whether it's pushing your body to become stronger or challenging your mind with new goals or allowing your heart to rediscover joy. The process of change asks for your courage. As women who we are often balancing so much. So let this serve as a gentle reminder that staying the same is not always the easier path. Sometimes it's just the one we've gotten used to. And when we choose to step into the discomfort of change, we invite growth, we invite possibility, we bring transformation into our lives. So as you think about the areas in your life where you feel stagnant or you feel restless, ask yourself, has the discomfort of staying the same grown too heavy to carry? And if so, perhaps it's time to welcome the discomfort of change, knowing that on the other side lies new strength, new joy, and new purpose. Thank you so much for listening today and always. If you've enjoyed the show, please share it with your friends. That's how we will grow our community. Find me on socials. It's Reframing Me everywhere. Website, reframing-me.com. And until next time, be well and communicate.